It has just gone 11 p.m. in New York. It is 12 noon in Beijing. It is 6 a.m. Central African time in Babane in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Good morning and welcome to the Monday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. We are coming to you live from our Hospital Hill Studios in Babane. I am Lincoln Kule. Many thanks for joining us. It is Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. Ngumsombuluko bongosi welishumi nakunye uqalile umnyaka kaze ke sevikini lelishumi nakunye lalomnyaka losetulu langa lesi 71 uqalileke umnyaka selele nje malanga langu 295 upheleke umnyaka losetulu. Simba bongosi kusini benesikhathi lesihle ngempela sonto konke kuhambe kahle kakhulu kutonke nje inhlangothi njoba livebe likase lilapha endasi ehlane emasodha sehlane bongosi ngumkhosi webugano sesemba ukuthi konke kuhambe ngendlela yakhona njengoba bebakhona belithango langa losihlanu siyiteka yenza ba bomcoka bawo lomkhosi semba ukuthi emaswati aphephile bongosi kusachubeka loyo msebenzi lo lasenkundla entetemidlalo njengoba bekwe imidlalo yengwenyama cup ema semi finals bancisela nalabo labangakaphumeleli bongosi bayiphumelele imbabane solo siyaphumelela Green Mamba sebayawutholana ke kuwo mancamu ayo lenzebe sililele nalabo bongosi leyo kase babekathi ihlobo tabo kuyo lempela sonto semba silomsala wethu insuku yachubeka ababhandishe bongosi kuleyo ndzawo leyo kanti ke singena nje ehlelweni lamhla silavule sibuke bona lo msebenzi wabo ukhosi webugani kakhulukathi from a tourism perspective kuthi ngabe uhambe kanjani lelo hlangothi lelo yakhumbulana ukuthi imduna yakhona ka tourism yethula umkhankaso njengoba siya kuma holiday agudi siyawithinza ke naleyo ngcingwana leyo bongosi langena lo muhla sibukene naletelete lekako nje kulamanye amave emhlaba yakhumbula ukuthi lapha even yase Senegal sekuveleke kucaliwe kukhankasa labo labangu 11 labakhankasela ke ukuthi bafuna kuba ngumengameli walo live le Senegal bacalile ke ukhankasa likhetho kubheka usilibe khona mhla 28 enyangeni lesetulu kaze bekunakase kunelikhetho ama general elections lapha even yase Portugal kuthiwa ke licembu le Democratic Alliance libonakala ke likungino lelihamba phambili nabakubuka nje ama results sebekathe aphuma itole ebusuku kepha ke kwakazi ukuthi abakhona ukuthola the outright majority letabendayo ukuthi bakhone kwakha uhulumende kusho ukuthi bayagcina ukuthi bahlangane lamanye amaphathi kwenziwe leyo coalition letiphulu letilapha ke vele Nigeria kuthiwa kuthunjwe abantwana besikole labalishumi nesihlanu enyakatho neshonalanga nelive le Nigeria kuthiwa ke ngalosine kwathunjwa abantwana labangu 289 kuthiwa ke sekwesithathu ngesikhathi nje singange amaviki lamabili kusike kuthunjwe abantwana labaningi khona ke lapha eveni lase Nigeria sawutibuka ke netemidlalo bonke njengoba sengishito kuseneni bekuyimidlalo yengonyama cup naseninzima Africa ichubekile idabi inqobile Orlando Pirates kanti ke mangesini sibambe nedulu ku Manchester City kanjalo ne Liverpool sawutibuka ke naletinye nje libetendeka kuyo imphela sonto ehlangothini le temidlalo ngento ke bonke sinaletinye lesithathu sibuke namhla ehlelweni kusile breakfast shows but right market sasa kenza bathi ecala talomhla eksene. Good morning. Ukulamsaza kulela msakazo wakho ubukela umsakazo ethithombe Eswatini TV sehlelweni Kusile breakfast show lomhla ngemsomluko ekseni. Sisaza ke silindzaba ekuqala telo mhla ekseni. Silo semhlaba ingonyama inkosi Mswati wesithathu sesithumiseke umgcumo lokhulako mihla yonke emkhosini webugano njengoba lo mkhosi sewukhangeke naletinye tive eAfrika. Iphefumula emkhosini webugano esigodlweni ehlane ingonyama ithe vele tive eAfrika tatiwa ngawo emasiko.
Lisasasa kulomkhosi webugano nalonyaka libe ngongilesetulu kakhulu. Lomkhosi kulelanga lesibili lawo umkhosi ucale ngekufika kwendlovukazi enkundleni kwase kufika imbube emhlaba lebeyikade isengethwe ngulacwebetelako. Umkhosi webugano nguleminye yemikhosi livele litichenya ngawo phindze futhi ngileminye yemikhosi lese yaba ngumkhosi leseyikhanga tivakashi netive tonke temhlaba. Kulomkhosi kulapho emakhosi abandzawonye nelibutho lelithango kanye nesive sonkhana semaswati kugubha lomkhosi. Siphefumulela umhlaba silo semhlaba sibonge umgcumo lofakwe bophezu komkhono kulomsebenzi saphindze sathumisa kuhlangana kweAfrika ihlanganiswe ngulomkhosi njengoba lonyaka lomkhosi bowukade ungenelwe native letinye.
Sijabulile nje kakhulu ukubona ningasimo bodwana bomake bakangwane kunabomake lababuya eAfrika babuya bomakhelwane ngala ngala babuya eTulu neAfrika sonke sesimunye singema Africans nakhona lapho sesivusa ukuthi vele iAfrika yayibanjwe ngemasiko kusukela mandulo. Ngiko nje sijabula nasibona nalabo make banganga lokhu bangaka batosekela nibambisane kube kuhle lithango ukuthi umsebenzi ube muhle kakhulu umsebenzi leni wendile lithango.
Indlovukazi mhlekazi ithe bophezu komkhono nabo basukumile bathi nkwe njengokusho kwengwenyama ngoba bophezu komkhono ete balala uma live lonke ligijima.
Wena wekunene sonke sibophezu komkhono sisukumile sisenkwe. Sisukumile wena wekunene asite salala sonke. Makuthiwana bekani le, makuthiwana bayani la, makuthiwana bambani la, sitawugijima sithi nkwe. Kuthi wena wekunene siyabonga imathuba la njengalawa ngoba akasiwo nje ukuthi kumbe ngilawa bekuthi nje kumbe besigidza kuphela la. Ngivele bophezu komkhono ngibakhumbule ngaso sonke isikhathi ukuthi bekunene khumbulani ukuthi wathini mahogoza wathi asihlangane sibomake sibonisane ukuthi singasitana njani etigodini tethu nekuthi yini lokusivelelako kuze size kunqobo. Bophezu komkhono ke bayangiva vele. Basukuma wena wekunene baqale batiteke letindzaba.
Libutho lelithango lenteke letibuka kwembi kwemakhosi enkundleni njengoba bekulanga lokuthi libutho libukise ngebugaba zibalo. Ngemuva kwemiso kube segidwa njiloni lobahakathe aholwa abamva benkosi lebe kube ngilapho emakhosi abese agitsa nalo libutho. tibese tiyagwebana ngemva kokuthi kugidwe ndiloni lebe kuyinkhomba yekufike emaphethelweni kwemiso inkundla ekuthambeni ivulwe imvuna yalo libutho baye esikhulu ungene enkundleni wathamba naye wenda letibukwako
ungibelenyile ayungibelenyile veline ngifuna wena wedwa lo inkosi ngifuna wena wedwa lo ngajikela
nemazinyane esilo akasaleli ngephandle ekuthambeni ngoba nawo abonakela ngena enkundleni kanti labanye labathambile kube bamfa benkosi labadzala kanye nemfanenkosi lindiwe loyindvuna yelitiko latasekhaya libutho lendele tibukwako ke njengoba nemaswati labuya ngephandle kwelive nawo akasaleli nani ngephandle neluthango lolubuya kulamanye emave lafa ekhathi iMozambique, iNigeria, iCameroon kanye neGhana elindzabeni kubuya upholile maziya esigodlweni ehlane
letinye ke tivakashi lebeti lapha eSwatini kuti awungena ke wona mkhosi webugano tivela tacala ke itolo kulibangisa emavenato letinye tale tivakashi titholakele ke egedeni engwenya setilishiya ke leSwatini umsakatho kwethola lithuba lekukhulumisana naletinye taleto tivakashi kuva kusithi thokote kanganani kuba ingcenye yemkhosi webugano kule mbela siphuma kuyo
Tivakashi letichamuka ngephandle kwakuleli letitholela ithuba lekuhlanganyela nawo emakhosi nesive semaswati kiwo umkhosi webugano lobolapha ehlane tivete intfokoto yato kuba ingcenye yalomkhosi tasho nekuthi tiphatseke kahle tiseselapha eveni
siphatseke kahle kakhulu emkhosini webugano inkosi ingwenyama hawo iphekile sadla sagqitsa kwaba kuhle kakhulu thili saze safika ekupheleni kujubeka naku lokusihamba sibile emakhaya sihamba ngokukhuleka lokuhle sijabulile sesuthi sempathiso sicumbe tiso ngendzaba engwenyama isiphekele kudla inkosi
sijabule kakhulu sibuya eSwatini emkhosini wemagano sikutholile lokuhle sibuya nako lamakhaya siphathe kahle ingwenyama usiphathe kahle nosomhlekazi siyabonga kakhulu ingwenyama bese iphathele emagano njengoba nathi ngala sihlahla emagano sinato siye sabutha lamagano uqobo lwawo asikaphathi lobugano siphathela amagano sithokote kakhulu siphatheke kahle kakhulu kuningi lesikufunzile lesitakhona ukuthi siphindze sibuye thine sitofundisa khona ngale kithi ngoba ngilasimunya khona ngilasimbelela ngilathola khona umbele welwadi
sijabule kakhulu sibuya kangwane emkhosini omkhulu wemagano kube mnanzi kakhulu basimukele kahle basiphatha kahle kwaba kuhle noma sesivalelisa sihamba basishayela tandla ukuthi asambe kahle endleleni
live leSwatini latiwa kakhulu ke ngelive lelinekuthula naleliphatha kahle tivakashi talo ingakho ke kubalekile ukuthi sichubeke ke singemaswati sitiphathe kahle tivakashi uma tiseselapha eveni kubika pho kuhle Dlamini etindzabeni eSwatini TV ngise Oshuk eMbabane
Tangoma telitulu setikhipheke satiso lesiphuthumako esiveni ngomoya lomkhulu libonakala ke ufana nazamcolo loseselwandle losendiya kwamanje kodwa ke lokunemathuba ukuthi ufike naseSwatini ngalwesithathu sangoma selitulu bayimosa sithi ke batawube solo basatisa ke sive malangeni asachubeka
sibona lokutenda zamcolo lokubonakala kuyange kuyakucina elwandle lwaseNdiya emkhathini weMozambique neMadagascar. Cishe elwandle lwaseNdiya ngenza bekufuthumala kwalo bozamculo bakheka kalula bahambe ngenza ukuthi umoya uye uchamuke eBaustralia ude ngala ngase-Afrika esikhathini lesiningi. Ngolokhu ngazi ukuthi thine nemabandla ladutana nalo lwandle lolo siye sibukisane nokuthi kusesimeni lesikanjani. Manje-ke kukhona lebe sekunakile kuyacina emkhathini weMadagascar neMozambique lesikunakile kulokuthi kukhombisa ukuthi awugcina kufikile nakangwane. Kodwa-ke asifuni ukuthi siphaphule emaphaphu eMaswati ukuthi nje sadise ukuthi sikucaphele sekunakile futhi ukuthi kutawuhamba kufikephi. Lebe sikumele ukuthi ngalala kukhona kufuneka kuhambe kugcine kufike eMozambique ngasevila nkulu. Lokutawenda-ke lokuthi kusukela lapho sitakunaka le ukuthi kuyafike kwacithe nemandla amaningi lapho bese kuthi emandla kwayancipha noma kutawuphinze kubuyele elwandle bese emandla akhona aphinza ayavuka nakusehla kujakele kubo Maputo ngikhona la kutabe sekuthinza khona live la kangwane. Lese kunaka lokuthi kube bekuhamba kahle kufuna kuhambe kugcine kufike ngethuba tasekuseni ngelesithathu ngethuba tasekuseni ngelesithathu eveni la kangwane.
Libandla libukeka ndzabate malungelo ebantfu lithi bomake bamcoka emangweni naseveni noma ngabe bakusiphi isimo. Lokho kuvetele isekela la commissioner kuleli bandla Kusile Dlamini ngesikhathi umnyango wecinzisa timilo kubhake lisuku lwakamhlaba lwabomake emnyango wecinzisa ke timilo lose mawelawela lapho kugcine khona bomake.
Njengoba umhlaba bogubha lusuku lwabomake umnyango wecinzisa timilo His Majesty's Correctional Service libandla lelibuke emalungelo ebantfu kanye nenhlangano emava labamhlophe bagubhele lusuku nabomake labagcinwe ngilomnyango emawelawela kubakhumbuta ukuthi nabo solo bamcoka. Lisekela la komshane bandleni lelibuke emalungelo ebantfu kuleli Kusile Dlamini uthi noma ngabe make ukusiphi isimo ukuphi futhi lilungelo lakhe kunakekeleka.
So societies where women are given equal respect and are not taken for granted normally flourish well. They have equal potential, strengths and abilities and have contributed tremendously and immensely to society regardless of where they are. Women inmates, who are our main focus today, have remained invisible in society's consciousness. So as we also reflect today's history, let us also be mindful that the fight for gender equality is not over yet. More sustained effort, collective action, and a commitment is required to addressing systematic barriers and injustices.
Lisekela la komshane emnyango wecinzisa timilo uphindile Simanze yena uthi labomake kunenzima lokumele bayidlale nababuyela emuva emimangweni kungako kubita ukuthi basekeleke.
These offenders are expected to positively contribute to the betterment of the country's social economic efforts upon completion of their sentences. And such inclusion cannot only be expected upon their release, but can start while they are serving their sentences through the department's various rehabilitation and reintegration programs.
Adam Robert wenhlangano emava labamhlophe uthi bomake nebantfana labangemantombazane kumele baticije ngemakhono netemfundvo ukuthi bakhone kutimela.
One of the things which empower girls and women is education. Do seize all opportunities that are extended to you to further your education, to acquire new skills, because in order to be a woman on her own, you need to be able to provide for yourself.
Lokugujwa kwalelanga ngulomnyango kuhambisana ngco nemigoma yakamhlabuhlangene yekumbandzakanya wonke. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza kanti ifombe lichamuka emnyango wecinzisa timilo.
Likhala kamsibi embi kwakhe hlaselwe tigebengu lebetihlome ngemikhwa tifuna ke imali ngensatsa kusa ngelisonto letinso laboya letisolala ukuthi betitawufuna imali tifike tagwaza make munye taseke tekhama nalomunye taphinze tebake namahlale khukhwini ngekusho kwa anamsibi kusesiko kwekucala tigcekeza letigebengu kulelikhaya.
Ngekusho kwa anamsibi lesigameko sendeke ngetithuba tensimbi yekuqala ekuseni ngekusa kwangelisondvo uthi lamadvodza aphule umnyango wasekhishini aconza kuye amekhama.
Nakukhanyiswa gesi la kamerweni lami ngithi mina ngile ndodane yami kanti akusiye babe bangihlala enthanyeni bayangikhama bangifuna imali ngathi mina ngithi imali ngiyadigulela ngimemeta Nomvula sisi wami ngimemeta Thobile sengimemeta Ndabenhle lo mtukulu wami yena ke vele ukhashane ule ngaphandle wasoyaphuma Nomvula ekamerweni lakhe eva ngimemeta bambamba lamnyango asathi naye uye ekamerweni lami bamuwisa phansi Nomvula bamgwaza bathi bafuna imali bethethe icingo lami kuphela akusinale icingo lelidurile ngilabo bompompo bathathe lona labangibona bakuthethe labahambe nako.
Thobile Mdluli naye uyalandzisa ngalokwendekile.
Ngibone la ngemva kwendlu kunesithundi semuntu ngisebuka isithundi semuntu nangumuntu angena la sithi ndumla ngikhona khona aphakamisa le makhava bosofa athi kanti le mali bayibekaphi kanti le mali bayibekaphi ngisuke ngiphume mina apha emva kwekhethini ngithi hey ngiyakubona asuke baphume bahambe bababili bahambe boncanca sihlahla lesingasekedeni bagcumele ngaphandle baphume.
Indvuna yenkundla yembi kwakhe Mthunzi Dlamini uyasekhuta lesento sekungenela abantu etindlini.
Kwekhuta ke msakati ngoba nabo labafana phela banetihlobo tabo banemindeni yabo ekuthenini maye kungaba kuhle ukuthi emangweni sekukhutane kungabi setayeta lokho kungukuthi umuntu sewuhamba aze agange angasabuki angasekho nasemqondweni ngoba sekuyasithinza thina singummango uma sekuvimbeteleka bogogo bethu.
Bugebengu sebanzile embi kwakhe sive sithi asisaphephanga. Lisekela lalochumanisa emaphoyisa nesive noSipho Mnguni uthe basayiphenya lendzaba. Kubika Phokokuhle Dlamini etindzabeni temsakato Eswatini TV ngisembi kwakhe.
Ihlangano liyatiwa ukuthi University of Billionaires ihlanganiseke sive sakamsunduza eMbabane yasifundisa kabanti ngekufuya tingulube netinkuku. Sihlalo walenhlangano Sibusiso Mashwama usike bafuyi kumele bafundziseke bangakaqali kwenda ibhizinisi.
Inhlangano University of Billionaires lekuyinhlangano yebantu labasha lefundzisa bosomabhizinisi ukuthi baphumelele kumabhizinisi abo ifundzise sive sakamsunduza eMbabane ngekufuya tingulube netinkuku. Sihlalo walenhlangano Sibusiso Mashwama uyenaba
kulama farmers ngaba ukuthi mhlambe uyaqala asikufundzise phela ukuthi ingabe ungena njani la ekufuyeni bese uyakhona ukuphumelela ngoba sibabonile labanye behluleka ngikuthi betelo lwati lokushothi nyalo sibaniketa lo lwati bese bahamba baphumelela la labakhona khona bese siyabasida ngithi ngabe market bangakhona ukuthi batithole kanjani masiphuma la bese siphinze senda nakulokuthiwa ngema-size visit la uthola khona ukuthi sesiyana lemakhaya sesiyobuka lemsebenzi yabo.
Lebe batofundzisa-ke bathi kude kahle lwati ekufundziseni bafuyi lekuyintfo ke lebe babafundzisa yona ukuthi uqalaphi ungaqala ibhizinisi.
Esikhathini lesiningi alinyade ukuthi ayafuna ukuqala leli bhizinisi etelo lwati lokhanza ukuthi ke sikafundzela leli bhizinisi sekunetiphosiso lokhanza usekatibuyisela emuva seyaliyaqala libhizinisi phindze liyavalwa.
Sibasite ngekuthi sibatholele imarket shothi siyabafundzisa ukuthi bangafuya kanjani tinone tabo imali abangayidzinga siphindze ukuthi nasebavuna noma sebaqaleke kukhicita sibatholele imarket bagcine babe nenzuzo bakhona ukudiphilisa.
Lebe bafundza bathi kunengi lebakufundzile basitakele impela ngaletifundo.
Ngibela le interest ukuthi nalabanye labasha lokuthathe endzaweni ngiphindze futhi ngende ne-production of le meat industry.
Nyalo sekukhulunywa tindzaba tabo additional income more than one stream of income nawubuka lelizinga umnotfo lokukhula ngalo so kutasita sine lesifuna nekubranchela ngala ekulimeni.
Even tikhona tinhlangosi letibolekisa ngetimali kude bafuyi nalabafisa ukucala ibhizinisi bakhone kuboleka timali baqale phindze bachube emabhizinisi abo. Etindzabeni kubeka Giyane Msibi ngikaMsunduza eMbabane.
Libandla leNazarene lithi umntwana udzinga kukhuliswa hayi kukhula noma ngabe ukhuliswa ngomunye umdali. labazalwane bebakhuluma ngesikhathi ke leli bandla lihlanganise bazalwane lababadali noko lokhanza ukuthi make noma babe ukhulisa ke yedwa umntwana kutawubakhumbuta ngomcuka bekukhulisa ke umntwana ngendlela lefanele ukuthi adlale inzima yakhe eveni uma ke sekakhulile.
Leli bandla lomNazarene lihlanganise bazalwane bemasomvo langaphansi kwezoni yaseMbabane labakhulisa abantwana amunye kuhlephulelana ngebomcoka bekumbanzakanya bobabili batali empilweni yemntfwana nanoma khuliswa ngumunye umtali. Labazalwane ke bavete bomcoka balomhlangano.
Sikulesimo njengebatali labangayibanye kuyintsandvo yaNkulunkulu. Kumcoka ke ukuthi sibambisana kanjani nelive kukhulisa abantwana. Bangabi bantwana labakhulile kodwa abantwana labakhulisekile. Bantwana labatawubamba ingcenye eveni ukuthi live lithuthuke.
Bantwana kwecala bangumlibalwa embili. So nasilibandla kufuneka ukuthi sibe nesiciniseko sokuthi bantwana bakhuliseka ngendlela lengiyo emakhaya. Dinenhlobo ke tekukhula kubantu akwazi ukuthi abanye bakhula bede batala, abanye bakhula batala ema-single parents, labanye bakhula nebatali baphelele kepha khanze ukuthi lempilo ayikho kahle.
Single parent imcoka kakhulu. Silibandla leNazarene sinetigungu letinyenti letihlukene lefaka yona lo single adult. Le ngicabanga ukuthi kusi-aligna sikhumbule indlela yekumkhulisa umntwana ngoma umntwana uyakhuliswa angaze atikhulele.
Lonikete timfundvo kulomhlangano Nelson Ndwandwe uthi umntwana udzinga ukukhuliswa ngendlela lengiyo angatikhuleli.
It's not about helping them growing up. It's about raising them, nurturing them. Utiphatha njani umfumbatana? Ukhuluma njena ke nemumvu. Wena ke nawe ntatimfo wena nje, you raise the child. You raise the child. Sibakhulise bamfana bangabi ngema grown ups but babe raised. Raised.
Yeah.
Umbone nomfana ngishahamba lamgwaqweni noma hleke office ukuthi ukhulisiwe ke lo mfana lo hayi ukuthi ukhulile.
Labazalwane letifundo bahleshulelwe ngaphansi kwencwadi yetaka 22 livesi lesithupha. Edintsabente Eswatini TV kubika samkaliswe khoza kunaphiwa kuhle edlamini ezulwini.
Kutemidlalo liqembukele livikela ke indlebe yengwenyama cup iGreen Mamba selithathola na eTulu neqembu leMbabane Swallows kumanqamu alenzebe ngemuva ke kokunqoba imidlalo yabo yema semifinals. iGreen Mamba inqobe kuYoung Buffaloes ngemagoli lamathathu kulamabili kanti ke iMbabane Swallows yona inqobe ke ngemagoli lamathathu ecanzeni kuMbabane Highlanders. Lemidlalo ke beyidlalelwa enkolweni yesive kaSomhlolo eTolo. Sibukana ke ibhola lembhoco yerugby mengameli wenhlangano lengamele kumdlalo werugby lapha eveni Bandile Vilakade uthi ke luhlelo lwe-high performance training lesebalitalile litawuba sithi kakhulu ke ukuthi bakhona ukuthola abadlali balomdlalo labatodlalela ke nasekhethelweni lesive bakhona ke ugcizelana kahle nalamanye amave emhlaba. Vilakade bayakhuluma ke langeni lekuqala lolu hlelo lwe-high performance training eMbabane. Bokusinga leto ke temidlalo sitawusasa ke lukhefu sitabuya ke sichubeke nalo hlelo nasenza kulo msakazo wakho umsakazo wetithombe yeSwatini TV sehlelweni Kusile breakfast show lomhla ngemvulo.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusemndeni.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007*3*7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 76222. Zero.
Balukhuni bayesabeka silukhuni sinembane awuyela njiloni awuyela kebelewe 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 lukhuni bayesabeka silukhuni sinembane awuyela njiloni awuyela kebelewe balukhuni bayesabeka silukhuni sinembane awuyela njiloni awuyela kebelewe balukhuni bayesabeka Hauyela njiloni. Hauyela kebeleweni. Balukuni bayesabeya. Silukuni sinembande. Hauyela njiloni. Hauyela
Bongosi lo sinikhombisa nje lokho lebekathe kwendeka elangeni la iTolo nakuyo nje lempela sondvo yonkhana lapha endase esikolweni ehlane emkhosini ke wabo bugane. We are trying to get hold of mapalane walo lutsango mange Joyce Gama save nje umsebenzi bongosi from their perspective uhambe kanjani njengoba sivile ingonyama emhlaba idumisa kuba khona kwabomake labaqhamuka ke na kuletinye tive kuleli vekati lase Africa lebekathe ke bayingcenye yawo lomkhosi webugano kanti ke njengoba netivakashi nanade bethi khona bongosi kutawo singatha ingonyama itawo singatha indlovu yemhlaba nawe eMaswati kuwo lomsebenzi lo hambe kahle indlela lesimangaliso safuna ke kuva sengabe ibenganani injabulo kulolithango njengoba inkosi idumise komgcumo lomkhulu lo khombisa kone kuchubeka nekukhula nemidlandla lofaka ke ngibobo phezulu komkhono emsebenzini lofana nalona sitawuva nje singabe naleto tifundisela tiyake tichubeke njengoba yakhumbula amaswati amahle selive lihlaselwe gender based violence kanti ke nakuhlangane ke bomake tindzaba leto lebati khulumisako kusi bahlomisane bomake nakendzaba nje tema business siyakhumbula nje ukuthi kula ma products laba wakhako bomake basebenzisa wona emaganu siyawuthola ke nalapho kutheni ningabe bomake basitaka yini bakhona yini kumcosha kati tiko sibize nje bongosi sibuye lesikhombise ke leto tithombe leti lebekathe ke tiqhamuka khona le endase ehlane na kuphezulu komkhono baleseke ebugani bakhe kuyisosilo semhlaba ingonyama inkosi Mswati wesithathu.
3 minutes. Ivana va Mozambique. Bahlawuliwa, inga hlawuliwa, akuya kole Swati, ayifambeni. Bahlawuliwa, inga hlawuliwa, akuya kole Swati, ayifambeni. Ayifambeni. Ayifambe yakaya kole Swati yabona reiwa unaru ayifambe 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 yakaya kole Swati yabona reiwa unaru ayifambe bahlawuliwa mina ingahlawuliwa akuya kole Swati ayifambeni ahlawuliwa ina ingahlawuliwa akuya kole Swati ayifambe 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 yakaya kole Swati yabona reiwa unaru ayifambe ayifambe
yemukeleni lutsango yemukeleni ingoma
aya kole Swati yabona reiwa unaru ayifambeni peswamko jombo 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 kuvitani
bayishaya bayaphuma ke leyo
jombo jombo kuhlawuliwa ikumiwe jombo siku ivumeleke akuvitaniwa iwosi yaunari Swati ajombo jombo kuhlawuliwa
yemukeleni bayishaya bayaphuma leyo yemukeleni emlonyeni
ikumiwe injombo siku ivumeleke kuzambiwa iwaiwa yawona Swati anjombo jombo 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 kuvitani jombo 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 kuhlawuliwa
Embala uphuthelwe kakhulu ke nabe awukafike khona esikolweni ehlane kumkhosi webukani because layinini sinama ke Joyce Gama lokuloko libandla lolithango. Mike ama asibona kakhulu sikuvusele ekseni ehlelweni kusile breakfast show sifuna nje kuva kuthaneni ingabe ni luthango nijabule kanganani uhambe njani futhi umsebenzi webukani lobe uqhubeka endase esikolweni ehlane ngempela sonto.
Nami sengivele ngidayo njombo. Ngifusele kuye umbukeli ekhaya nomasikhathele kodwa kuhamba kahle mbukeli wemsakazo wakangwane ngoba indzaba lenkulu emasiko nemihambo netive tase Afrika nalamanye emave njengoba kungumgomo wako ukuthi sonke sive nesive babe nato tindzaba lebatendako nemicimbi lekhutsata emasiko nemihambo ingasho kuhambe kahle kakhulu mbukeli ekhaya kulomu sebenzi lomkhulu lobusigamsesibili lapha ehlane sebukani bakhe konke nje uma emalanga nekwethula nemiyalo lebesiyenza kulolithango ukuthi nasasuka lwenteni bekunene kubelise kakhulu nawe mbukeli usekhaya utibonele nje umgcumo longaka nasibuka mhlambe na ungathi estimate unga-estimate lapha kubo 40,000 luthango lobe lulapha umvakeda akholwa ukholwa ngeke utibonela ngoba noma kwentiwani uyuthi nawuthi ugalele isikhathi usista kwenda lokhu ubone ngathi sendlula ngoba kungilethi inombolo nalomgcumo walolibutho sijabule kakhulu sijabula kakhulu ngokuthi letindlo umnyaka neminyaka kumgcumo uyengeteka futhi umnyaka neminyaka lenzaba yabo cultural exchange nalamave njoba beyakhona Mozambique bakhona bo Nigeria bo Ghana bakhona ke be South Africa laba emaswati langale bakhona nje indzawo letinengi etehlukahlukene kuta utobuka lomkhosi ngendlela lesiukhangisa ngalo silive lakangwane.
Ingabe nje Mike manje oba siyabona lokuthi kuba mnanzi nase kugidva ngifuna ke ukuthi senza ukuthi bese sinibone ngaphambilini kuba netifundo lenitifakako kubo bomake angibekise nje ukuthi live likhungethwe indzaba yokuhlukubeteka kwabo bomake ukuthi tisachubeka yini mhlambe leto timfundiso leto nekuhlomisa bomake tindzabeni te business
uyachubeka leto tifundo ngoba lokumgcoka ngokuthi sithi umake nakabuyela ekhaya kube kukhona lahamba nabo latawuhlala kucabanga ngiko nje ukhanza ukuthi kuletifundo njengoba besibekile sibe sinalo lithende lelibuke kathi
bose asitolise kakhulu kujubeka kwa Maria Joyce Gama mapalane walolithango lebese khulumisana naye bonkosi ukuthi umsebenzi uhambe kanjani sevalo ukuthi cha konke kuhambe kahle kakhulu nakalinganisa nje abekisa inombolo uthi ke bekabuka ngeliso lakhe bayafika ku 40,000 bomake lebe bakhona kulomsebenzi lona labanye bebaqhamuke emaveni afayikhathi boMozambique njengoba sibabonile baqhamuke emaveni afayikhathi boNigeria naseningizimu Afrika njengoba khona emaswati nanawo la qhamukile ete kutawuhlanganyela nesilo nendlovukazi mhlekazi kubo lo msebenzi lona uyachaza yena ukuthi tifundo tiyachubeka njengoba bekhona emathende bebawe bekile lapho bebekufundiswa khona bomake ukuthi make nakasuka kulomkhosi ekhaya aye avuselelekile ngeke bangimake nje inzima ledlalwa boma-ke emangweni nasekhaya naseveni njengoba live ngiyakhumbula engonyama imhlaba nayivula iphalamende yakhuluma kabanti ngenzaba gender based violence yaniketa-ke emaswadini sayeya ukuthi kuloyo naloyo akente isiqiniseko sekuthi iyaphela i-gender based violence kuleli live laseswatini. Sikhumbula ukuthi ngalwesihlanu live belikade limdzibi munye nalamanye amave emhlaba ekugubheni lusuku lwabomake kuhlonishwa-ke bomake emhlabeni International Women's Day. Lesimbaye ukuthi bonkosi nakunemikhosi-ke lefana nalena mkhosi webugani la kuhlangana khona bomake yawudzingiswa leto tindzaba leto ukuthi ngabe kungendiwa njani uze ukuthi make avikeleke kuleli live laseswatini ukuthi bomake baniketwe-ke emathuba tinhlangothini nje letiningi letikhona eveni ngaba endzabeni tebuholi bomake baniketwe nalelo thuba lesibaholi njengoba sibona-ke live nembala lichubeka nekumhlonipha make lichubeka ukuthi make limnikete emathuba ukuthi-ke angaba setikhundleni lesetulu baningi nje bomake lesingabala eveni laseswatini lekubonakala sibadala enzima lenkulu lapho live libathume khona ukuthi-ke ababambe basebente bonkosi bekumake-ke Joyce Gama libekase-ke sikhulumisana naye sicela nje lokuthi bese soyajubeka asachaza ukuthi umsebenzi uhambe kanjani ikakhulukazi kuleli hlangothi lokuthi bebabafundzisa kuthini bomake ikakhulukazi nayo indzaba yebhizinisi. Siyakhumbula ukuthi indlovu yemhlaba yavele yenda-ke isiqiniseko sekuthi bomake abagcini njalo ukuthi baphise lobugano kepha-ke kuningi lebangakwenda ngalamagano seva ngalwesihlanu ekuthenini bomake sebakhona kwakha 2025 khathi mafutha ayigcobisa ama-perfumes akakhiwa bojamba yakhiwa kuningi nje lebakwendako bomake ngetandla tabo basebenzisa wona magano bongosi 8 minutes before 7 sisabathola-ke makethe bongosi phinde sinikhombise nje lokho lobeka sekwendeka vele le ndasi ehlane sithathe siyabuya-ke thathanza bade sibili talomhla ekuseni. You are watching the Monday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. Good morning wherever you are in the kingdom.
Shaya ntanda lithango njengoba kutshengiswa shaya ntanda. Labadlaliselako ningasonzeli ibhutana.
Welcome back. Now on our international front, days of torrential rain have brought floods and landslides in Indonesia's province of West Sumatra, forcing the evacuation of more than 70,000 people while killing at least 19, with 7 going missing, authorities said on Sunday.
Roads ripped apart and villages engulfed in water or mud. Days of torrential rain on the island of Sumatra are taking their toll on the population. Tons of mud, rocks and uprooted trees came rolling down on Friday night into a river that burst its bank and tore through mountainside villages like this one. Tens of thousands have been forced to evacuate, and as the death toll climbs, search and rescue teams are scrambling to find those still missing.
The joint team was expanded in the South Coast area to 14 affected areas.
Officials say relief efforts were hampered by power outages and blocked roads covered in thick mud and debris. Located on the Indonesian island just northeast of Java, where Sumatra is particularly prone to natural disasters. Its steep terrain means landslides are common, particularly during the rainy season, and the phenomenon is made worse by deforestation, since trees play a vital role in the absorption of water.
In Israel struck one of the largest residential towers in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip on Saturday, residents said, stepping up pressure on the last area of the enclave it has not yet invaded and where over 1 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering. The 12th-floor building, located some 500 meters from the border with Egypt, was damaged in the strike. Dozens of families were made homeless, though no casualties were reported, according to the residents.
One of Rafah's largest residential buildings is in ruins. As Israel presses on with its operations and bombings in the Gaza Strip, some 300 people who lived here had to flee their homes in the middle of the night.
The Israelis ordered to evacuate the place in 5 or 10 minutes. We fled, women and children. We were terrified. We just reached the Rafah municipality and the bombing started. There was a second strike 5 minutes later and a third strike 5 minutes later. Frankly, as you see, there is total destruction.
We were aware it was coming, then they told us to leave. The whole tower is full of residents, all 80 apartments. We ran downstairs. Children, women, elderly, the youth, everyone. We didn't take anything with us. We just ran a very short distance, and then they struck the tower.
Gazans from across the enclave have fled to Rafah to escape the bombings and fighting in their hometowns. 1 million people here have been desperate for food, water, and aid, and the area is under immense pressure. Talks on a ceasefire and the release of the Israeli hostages held by Hamas have so far failed to bring results. And with the Israeli officials saying this city is where the hostages are held and that fighting on the ground could extend to this area too, many fear the situation could further deteriorate. World powers, including Israel's allies and weapons suppliers, have warned against a ground offensive in Rafah.
The United States Army deployed a massive ship from Virginia to the eastern Mediterranean. It's loaded with gear to begin construction of a floating pier to deliver aid to Gaza amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Viewer discretion is advised on the following story.
Urban warfare in the Gaza Strip. The Israel Defense Forces released videos said to show troops fighting door-to-door in the city of Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip. VOA cannot independently verify the dates or locations of the video. Its release follows a weekend where dozens of Palestinians died in Israeli airstrikes and artillery fire, according to local health officials. The situation in Gaza is dire, say health and aid workers who've been there.
They will tell you that the situation has deteriorated for a couple of reasons. And we're at the point that we are because there is a bottleneck. There used to be 3 entrances into the Gaza Strip. Israel controlled 2 of them and Egypt controls 1 of them. Now, only 1 out of the 3 is partially functioning.
To get around those blockades, regional partners began dropping aid packages from the sky. Over the weekend and on the eve of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, the Jordanian Air Force over Gaza dropped pallets filled with flour, rice, baby formula, and water. And the United States Air Force dropped more than 88 bundles of aid said to contain nearly 53,000 meals and 23,000 bottles of water. Now, another plan to deliver aid to Gaza is set to begin. The United States Army deployed a vessel from Virginia to the Mediterranean carrying equipment to build a temporary pier. While it will likely be weeks, with some estimates as high as 60 days before the pier becomes operational, the plan is to have a floating base of operations to deliver aid to Palestinian territories. The United Nations says a quarter of Gaza's population faces starvation. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says the conflict so far killed nearly 31,000 Palestinians, a number that does not sit well with U.S. President Joe Biden.
Cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead as a consequence of going after. There's other ways to deal with the trauma caused by Hamas.
Biden stopped short of committing to a red line that Israel could cross that would stop U.S. support for its ally, which declared war on Hamas after its October 7 attack on Israel that killed 1,200. But as Ramadan begins, for more than 72,000 injured Palestinians, any relief by land, sea, or air can't come soon enough.
Residents of Haiti's capital scrambled for safety on Saturday following the latest spasm of gang violence, with a UN group warning of a city under siege after armed attackers targeted the presidential palace and police headquarters. Criminal groups, which already control much of Port-au-Prince, as well as roads leading to the rest of the country, have unleashed havoc in recent days as they try to oust Prime Minister Ariel Henry as leader of the Western Hemisphere's poorest country. Viewer discretion is also advised on the following story.
Schools, banks and gas stations with shuttered doors as Haiti's capital remains in a state of emergency. Gangs have rampaged through Port-au-Prince, freeing thousands of inmates from the country's 2 biggest prisons, attacking its main airport and setting police stations on fire. Now they exert de facto authority over some 80% of the capital, and the fresh wave of violence has paralyzed the already ailing economy.
The gangs forced me to leave my home. I've become a nomad with my 3 children who don't have a father. I'm all over the streets. We arrived here, but we can't stay because there's no water, no bathrooms, and there's no drinkable water. We're in misery.
Acting Prime Minister Ariel Henry has been in Puerto Rico after his trip to Kenya for talks on gang violence, but remains unable to return to the country. An alliance of Caribbean nations, CARICOM, says it still recognizes Henry as the legitimate leader.
The heads of government of the Caribbean community remain engaged in deep discussions with the various stakeholders in Haiti and Prime Minister Henry. Whilst we are making considerable progress, the stakeholders are not yet where they need to be. We would like the Haitian people to know that we'll continue to work with them on their behalf.
The Prime Minister has accepted to hold early elections in 2025, but gangs have stepped up their attacks on security forces, pushing for a quicker transition. Scores of people have been killed and more than 15,000 forced from their homes since coordinated gang attacks began at the end of last month.
Guy Philippe, who helped lead a coup in Haiti in 2004 and returned to the Caribbean island last year after serving a prison sentence in the U.S., demanded on Friday that the country's prime minister resign and said he wanted to become president. Months of violence have pushed the government in Haiti to the brink of collapse, with increasingly powerful gangs demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry, who remains outside the country, seemingly unable or unwilling to return.
He successfully led a coup in Haiti 2 decades ago, and now former police chief Guy Philippe is threatening to seize power once again. Prime Minister Ariel Henry has been in Puerto Rico for days now and seems unable to return to Haiti. Philippe says he shouldn't come back.
He had an agreement. He would resign and step down in February 7th this year, but he hasn't done it, and he's still having the backing of those big countries that say that they are our friends. So I think he should stay where he is now for the best. It will be good for the country that he stay where he is and let Haitians decide their fate.
Philippe has had a tumultuous political career. In 2016, he won a Senate seat but was arrested and extradited to the United States before he could be sworn in. He's been back in Haiti since last November after being deported from the US, where he served a 6-year jail sentence for money laundering derived from drug trafficking. His threats to take over comes as Haiti grapples with a wave of gang violence and an ailing economy. On Thursday, authorities extended a state of emergency around the capital Port-au-Prince. That after armed groups broke thousands of inmates out of prison days earlier. The chaos has forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes in recent years. Some say it's made life impossible.
Recently, a tear gas grenade was thrown by the police and hit a journalist in the eye. The police kill students, and they kill activists. Today, they're questioning activists. We have a prime minister. We don't know whether he's dead or alive, because he's lost in the wild.
Prime Minister Ariel Henry has accepted to hold early elections in 2025, but gangs have stepped up their attacks on security forces, pushing for a quicker transition.
U.S. President Joe Biden used his third State of the Union speech Thursday evening to announce a dramatic measure to facilitate aid into Gaza, push funding for Ukraine's war efforts, and to warn the country of the threat posed by Donald Trump, his likely opponent in the November election.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Like many American presidents in the last year of their first term, President Joe Biden delivered his State of the Union address with a key goal in mind: to convince the American people he deserves 4 more years.
Tonight, we can proudly say the state of our union is strong and getting stronger.
He addressed voters' concerns about his age and mental acuity, turning it into an attack against former President Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee he's likely to face in the November election.
The issue facing our nation isn't how old we are, it's how old our ideas. Hate, anger, revenge, retribution are the oldest of ideas. But you can't lead America with ancient ideas.
While it's not technically a campaign speech, Biden had a clear message to voters. Trump is a dire threat to democracy. The president invoked the January 6, 2021 storming of the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters seeking to overturn Biden's victory in the 2020 election.
My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that.
As Israel's military campaign raged in Gaza, Biden announced a dramatic measure to deliver much-needed aid for Palestinians.
Tonight, I'm directing the U.S. military to lead an emergency mission to establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean on the coast of Gaza that can receive large shipments carrying food, water, medicine, and temporary shelters. No U.S. boots will be on the ground.
It's unclear whether the plan will be enough to appease progressive Democrats, Arab and Muslim Americans outraged by Biden's unyielding support of Israel. Hundreds protested outside while he spoke. Biden underscored Israel's right to self-defense against Hamas while calling for a temporary ceasefire and the release of hostages held by the militant group. And in a rare rebuke to Israel, he expressed frustration over the lack of aid and the 30,000 death toll in Gaza.
To the leadership of Israel, I say this: humanitarian assistance cannot be a secondary consideration or a bargaining chip. Protecting and saving innocent lives has to be a priority. As we look to the future, the only real solution to the situation is a two-state solution over time.
Biden's foreign policy goals have been overshadowed by House Republicans' obstruction of a Senate-approved $95 billion foreign aid package to help Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Biden urged them to pass the bill.
My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away.
Biden urged Congress to pass a bill on immigration and border security, a key issue for American voters. He laid the blame for the deadlock on Republicans and Trump, accusing them of exploiting the border as a political issue.
We can fight about fixing the border, or we can fix it. I'm ready to fix it.
He vowed to protect the right to abortion and in vitro fertility treatment, a top concern for Democrats amid conservative states restricting access.
Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away?
Biden also touted his policies, calling the American economy the envy of the world. He laid out a progressive economic agenda targeting corporate America and the wealthy.
No billionaire should pay a lower federal tax rate than a teacher, a sanitation worker, or a nurse.
Alabama Senator Katie Britt delivered the Republican response.
President Biden just doesn't get it. He's out of touch. Under his administration, families are worse off, our communities are less safe, and our country is less secure.
The data shows the economy has exceeded expectations, but inflation remains a major concern of voters, creating a potential weakness for Biden ahead of the election.
In his State of the Union address, U.S. President Joe Biden urged passage of the $95 billion Senate foreign aid bill that will send assistance to Ukraine and Israel, as well as humanitarian relief to Gaza. The bill faces opposition in the Republican-controlled House.
U.S. aid to Ukraine, front and center at this year's State of the Union.
Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that it needs to defend itself.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has refused to bring the $95 billion foreign aid bill passed by the U.S. Senate up for a vote, frustrating House Democrats.
If we'll put the Ukraine funding on the floor of the House, it will pass overwhelmingly.
Aid to Ukraine also has the support of many House Republicans.
I think that there is a moral purpose to it. I think there is a strategic reason for doing that. I think we have a world that looks very much like it did in 1938, with little small dictators with absolute power interested in genocide, started World War II.
But other Republicans say they will send a new round of aid to Ukraine only if U.S. security at the Mexico border receives more funding.
We're talking about the borders of Ukraine. What about our borders? So I could, in a compromise say, hey, $1 for our southern border for every dollar we do in Ukraine.
Senate Republicans rejected a bipartisan agreement for more than $20 billion in border security funding earlier this year. House Republicans say they will send a new round of aid to Ukraine only if U.S. security at the Mexico border receives more funding. Biden on Thursday also announced a new effort to deliver aid to civilians in Gaza.
A temporary period will enable a massive increase in the amount of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza every day.
But some Republican lawmakers told VOA that aid to Palestinian civilians will not be enough to solve the underlying conflict.
Hamas is evil. You know, do I want a ceasefire? Yeah, I want a ceasefire as soon as Hamas is wiped off the face of the earth.
Republicans also criticized Biden's proposal for a two-state solution.
As long as Hamas is allowed to operate on the edge of Israel, we're going to have this problem. And so at the same time, Americans are providing aid to Gaza. Where's Iran? Where is Iran's aid to Gaza?
Democrats praised the president's efforts to support Israel while addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
I'm glad that the president has both in the last week ordered airdrops of food and humanitarian assistance and also is going to build that port.
A procedural effort to force a vote on the foreign aid bill in the U.S. House could come as early as next week.
As U.S. voters prepare for a new round of primaries tomorrow, U.S. President Joe Biden and his Republican political rival Donald Trump traveled to the swing state of Georgia over the weekend to hold parallel campaign events.
American freedoms will be on the ballot in November, stressed President Joe Biden during a campaign event in Atlanta, Georgia. Ahead of the state's primary election Tuesday, he reminded voters of the track record of his Republican rival, former President Donald Trump, on abortion rights.
He came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. In fact, he brags about it. Well, he got his wish, and states are passing bans that criminalize doctors, forcing rape and incest victims to leave their states to get help.
But Georgia, Biden argued, can help shield women's reproductive rights.
Send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, and I promise you, I will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
Trump also campaigned Saturday, but in northwest Georgia, where he strongly criticized Biden's recent State of the Union address.
Whether you are a Republican, an independent, or a disillusioned Democrat, of which there are many, all you had to do is watch that horrible State of the Union. Crooked Joe Biden talked about Ukraine before he talked about America. Joe Biden should not be shouting angrily at America. America should be shouting angrily at Joe Biden.
The former president also decried Biden's immigration policies, citing the murder of nursing student Laken Riley on February 22nd. She allegedly died at the hands of a Venezuelan immigrant who entered the United States illegally.
He was an illegal migrant, and he shouldn't have been in our country, and he never would have been under the Trump policy. Biden has implemented a formal policy that illegal aliens who intrude into the United States are granted immunity from deportation.
Biden, who used the word illegal during his State of the Union address to refer to Riley's alleged murderer, later apologized and Saturday defended his own immigration record.
I introduced a comprehensive plan to fix our immigration system, secure our border, provide a pathway for citizens, for dreamers and their families, farm workers, essential workers who helped us through the pandemic and are part of the fabric of our community.
What the weekend remarks of both presidential hopefuls had in common was the sense of urgency for voters to show up at the polls and help them become their respective parties' presidential nominees.
And I ask you to join us on the noble quest of saving our country, saving our country. Together we will turn the page forever on the miserable nightmare of the Biden presidency.
It's a contest between competing forces in the battle for the soul of this nation. Between those who want to pull America backwards and those who want to move America to the future.
Hawaii, Mississippi, Washington, and Georgia will be holding primaries on Tuesday. Earning all the delegates at stake, or just a fraction of them, could hand over a presidential nomination win for either candidate.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan hosted Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky in Istanbul on Friday for talks on the cause of the Ukraine-Russia war, the defunct Black Sea grain deal, and increased defense industry cooperation. The two sides said. Erdogan said Turkey is ready to host a summit between Ukraine and Russia to end the war.
The Turkish and Ukrainian presidents met in Istanbul to sign a number of agreements, as well as to discuss the safety of shipping in the Black Sea, and above all, address the issue of ending the war in Ukraine. Recep Tayyip Erdogan has repeatedly discussed brokering a peace deal. He said he hoped Russia would be on board with Turkey's offer of hosting a peace summit.
We have, since the beginning, been contributing the best way we can to stop the war on the basis of negotiations. And we are ready to host a peace summit in which Russia will participate.
NATO member Turkey defends Ukraine's territorial integrity while continuing to hold talks with Moscow. Ankara in 2022, following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, brokered a deal between Moscow and Kyiv that allowed the shipment of millions of tons of Ukrainian grain through the Black Sea. Russia pulled out of the deal last year. For Volodymyr Zelensky, this is not the time for negotiations with Russia, even though an inaugural peace summit is due to be held in Switzerland this year.
Regarding the format of the inaugural summit, we cannot see Russian representatives at the summit. We cannot see how we can invite people that block, destroy, and kill everything. We want to see a result, the result of a just peace for Ukraine.
The visit comes as Zelensky and other Ukrainian officials continue to press other nations for more munitions and weaponry to halt the advance of Russian troops in Ukraine.
On Friday, police in Peru announced the arrest of an Iranian citizen who was purportedly a member of an Iran terrorist group and allegedly planned to kill an Israeli citizen in the South American country. Gen. Oscar Ariora, Peru's police chief, said in a press conference that Majid Azizi, 56, was arrested Thursday in Lima along with two Peruvian citizens.
Police in Lima escort Majid Azizi, a suspected operative for Iran's Quds force, saying they've foiled a terrorist plot.
We had to act quickly because he was set to return to Iran after forming a terrorist cell to wipe out an Israeli national.
The Iranian man holds Peruvian nationality by marriage and entered Lima on the 3rd of March. Authorities said an international intelligence investigation revealed that he and 3 Peruvian accomplices were planning to kill an Israeli national, whose identity hasn't been revealed, at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Cusco later this year.
Fortunately, with such an effective operation, the national authorities have been able to capture this Iranian who intended to establish a terrorist operation against the meeting.
It's not the first time Iran's Revolutionary Guard has been suspected of running operations in South America. The US recently impounded an aircraft sold to Venezuela that was linked to the Quds force. And most notoriously, Argentina believes Iran was behind the 1994 bombing of a Jewish center that killed 84 people.
A jury in New York on Friday found former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez guilty of trafficking hundreds of tons of cocaine into the United States, enriching himself while protecting and abating some of the region's most infamous drug cartels. A 12-member jury in Federal District Court returned its unanimous verdict midway through its second day of deliberations.
Outside a New York courthouse, a crowd of Honduran expats celebrate the conviction of their former president. On Friday, Juan Orlando Hernandez was convicted of using the military and police to help drug traffickers move tons of cocaine into the United States unhindered. Hernandez is expected to appeal the conviction.
It's
sad that the words of drug traffickers, thugs and psychopaths were used by the US government to accuse someone and convict him.
U.S. prosecutors accused Hernandez of working with drug traffickers for at least 20 years. taking millions of dollars in bribes as he rose from rural congressman to 8 years as president. During his presidency, Honduras received more than $50 million in U.S. anti-narcotics assistance and tens of millions of dollars in security and military aid. But the Justice Department now says Hernandez ran Honduras as a narco state, using drug cash to bribe officials to manipulate voting results during Honduras' 2013 and 2017 presidential elections. Honduran authorities arrested Hernandez 3 months after he left office in 2022 and extradited him to the United States. Sentencing for Hernandez has been scheduled for June. He faces at least 40 years in prison.
Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Friday sent troops to rescue more than 250 pupils kidnapped by gunmen from a school in the country's northwest in one of the largest mass abductions in 3 years. In Kaduna State, attack was the second mass kidnapping in a week in Africa's most populous country, where heavily armed criminals, gangs on motorbikes, target victims in villages and schools and along highways in the hunt for ransom payments.
Chaos and panic after gunmen stormed the school in Nigeria's northwest region. Locals say assailants surrounded the facility as classes were set to begin, before abducting hundreds of pupils.
A teacher leading the school assembly was kidnapped. He said he couldn't run away because students depended on him for protection. A vigilante was also killed while he was trying to scare the gunman away by shooting in the air.
The kidnapping marks the second mass abduction in the West African nation in less than a week. Authorities say search and rescue teams have been deployed to find the missing children, most of them aged between 8 and 15.
We have sent a strong message to the mothers, and we made it clear to them that one of the most important responsibilities of the government is to ensure that we protect the lives and properties of our citizens.
It's not the first time that Nigerian schools have been the targets of kidnappings for ransom. In 2014, the Boko Haram armed group abducted more than 200 schoolgirls in Borno State. And again in 2021, when fighters took more than 150 children in a raid. This as the country continues to battle an insurgency since more than a decade, with armed groups operating mainly in the northeast, targeting security forces and civilians, and displacing tens of thousands of people.
Voters in Portugal went to the polls on Sunday in an early election that could see the country join a shift to the right across Europe after 8 years of socialist rule.
There are over 10 million registered voters taking to the polls in Portugal, with some optimistic that gains for the right might be on the cards after 8 years of socialist rule.
I think the change from the Socialist Party to moderate right-wing and ideally centre-right party is important for Portugal. The Socialist Party has been in power for quite a long time without any result.
The two main parties are expected to capture most of the votes. The ruling Socialist Party, whose new leader Pedro Nuno Santos wants to keep his party in power, and centre-right Democratic Alliance led by Luís Montenegro. However, one outsider has been dominating the headlines. André Ventura, his far-right party Chega, which stands for Enough, has run a campaign aimed at leveraging widespread political discontent to overthrow decades of bipartisan leadership. Under the slogan, Portugal needs a clean-up, he's championed anti-corruption, strict immigration rules and even chemical castration for paedophiles. And polls suggest it may have worked, enough to receive some 16% of votes, making him decisive in subsequent coalition talks if the election yields no clear winner. But not all voters are convinced.
I don't think we're in a period of great significant change. The truth is, the outgoing party is bound to come back to power with a programme that's not really any different from what we've got.
Sunday's snap election was triggered when former Prime Minister Antonio Costa stepped down last November amid allegations of corruption. The implosion brought the party's ratings below 30%, just behind the Democratic Alliance.
Right, that's how we come to the end of our international segment. After the break, we'll talk all things sport with Fabrice Msonera.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusemndeni.
Alright, kube nekhala ke negedletela kwamatinyo itolo enkundleni yesiveka somhlolo naqhubeka ima semi-finals enzebe ngonyama cup. Umdlalo wokuqala ke wemkhathini weqembu leGreen Mamba ne Young Buffaloes. The man is here, former Rwandan under-20 international. Fabrice banjani ekhaya msana.
Sivusele Magowane, sivusele Mbukele ekhaya.
Seems it was a long weekend.
It was a long weekend. Nakhuluma ngeDerby Saturday bomakhelwane.
Long and a busy one.
Busy one. Sangena kule derby yethu Tolo saphinze surround up the weekend with the English biggest game. So what a weekend it was.
Green Mamba, Young Buffaloes.
The expectation was there. Would see maybe being the defending champion, coming with pride, coming with confidence, they might do something. But we're not thinking that maybe in terms of the results that you would expect maybe Buffaloes to get that defeat. But it's a learning curve like Coach Stoffel said yesterday. The full focus now is going to be on the league, which it was even quite difficult to go both the league and the Ngonyama Cup. For Ernest Mavuso, they want both. How are they going to manage that? It's quite impossible. It's quite difficult. But what a game it was. And I think both sides, now we would say these are the two teams with the most numbers in the national team, The two teams have got close to 16 players within the national team. So it tells you how big game it was. Players like Boshavi, Scali, they were on the score sheet, Saviola.
Yeah, on Friday I talk about the Scali factor.
Effect, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it showed the experience, the leadership, and I think since Mamunigale Amband as the captain of the club, there is that leadership quality that he has. And I think so far, Lagangwane, okay, Wonjabura Mazia Bayazama, Buffaloes, but Saviola, yes, these are some of the experienced players. But currently, I don't think we have a striker that is at his level. I think Utihamberai adventure in terms of being a finisher, be it aerial balls, strength, quality and finishing. I think he's one of the best.
It was a 5-goal thriller.
Yes, yeah.
Last book the scoreline. Was it a true reflection of the game?
It is a true reflection. Both teams showed quality. Kickoff at 1 p.m. There was too much quality from both sides. Maybe in terms of we were expecting that some point that this is one game that could bring us maybe with extra time. But as early as in the first half, already Green Mamba was leading 2-0. It tells you that there's so much quality. And then there's also potential of young players we saw from both sides in terms of substitution. And then it tells you that not only are we saying that we have so much quality, but the so-called the big teams have got something to offer. What a game it was. Before then we were entering to the biggest game in the land.
The derby.
The derby. And I don't think Magawane, I don't think I recall when last Somhloro was packed to this capacity. Because Nankumbraga, I think 2019, the last Ngonyama Cup final, Green Mamba Mbabane Highlanders, when His Majesty King Mswati III graced the occasion during the final. I think that's the last time Eswatini Somphlo packed to the way it was packed. Last time I talked to one of the Premier League officials, we're talking about 12,000 Somphlo. Then he exceeded the expectation because over 16,000 tickets were sold. But players upped their game, the likes of Wonuno, Sizeloto Shabalala, giving that pass to Tiger and Tiger putting it at the back of the net. And I think just quality. Bugayanda Gadlera, what a finish.
Yeah, what a finish.
This is class. This is, and then it comes again, Tiger does the same thing. I think in terms of quality, Swallows are ahead. Highlanders, I was actually talking to some of the other journalists. Highlanders, they need to do some work. I got a chance also to speak to a club director yesterday, Ali Homo. They need just to add some new faces.
We're not expecting Highlanders to shower. Yes, somebody now a win to go to the finals.
Yes.
But Highlanders scored.
There are some players I would think Magawane didn't come to the party. Pilanim Kond, I think in terms of struggling, trying those chances, but Bokeneth Molot, I think it's one example. He's been always
Was the stage too big for some of the players?
It wasn't really too big, but I didn't come to the party. Kenneth Molota, I didn't see him the usual Kenneth Molota is. So Scones as your playmaker, he didn't give you that much confidence, and they still have a problem with their number 9, their striker Frimpong. Frimpong, yes, he's a body striker. He shows that he can give you energy, but he's not a finisher. If you look at him compared to the other strikers like Oscar, Gadlera now is being converted into number 9. Then they are quite behind. They need a number 9, a proper number 9. They need a 6, because now also he's got also that, tomorrow you're not sure because the Toro, I was confused. Is this the also we know? Then they have a problem with the wings, because Molota is not really the Molota we used to do. Okay. So if they can add new faces, maybe into the pre-season, we can see something. On the other hand, I think Swallows, they are 90 minutes away from their dream. They want to return to Africa, Makwabane, and I think they are close. What I like, it's a crop of young players. They must be talented players. We have Zwane coming also from the right. You've got this young man, I don't know if I should say young or mid-age, Ayanda Gadlera. Yeah. He's in the national team. He's showing quality. He could be their next striker. You've got Bo Nuno Nyaro. They are taking responsibility. After Bo Wanda and Tony, they have left the club. So there is so much. You've got Tiger, Manyisa. They are showing that they are capable of lifting this club.
Swallows, remember, I'm looking at these teams. They are both ball-playing teams.
Yes.
Can they give us one of the best finals?
It's going to be one of the biggest games. I'm looking at Enes Mavuso, ball player, and he believes in attacking in numbers, defending in numbers. Bogena Kalebuwenya is so much quick in terms of sides, coming from the sides, but you've got Bo Marcelo from Kirimamba, so it's going to be an interesting one. Tactical is going to be, there's nothing much about force, but tactical is going to be very good. Beautiful goals, we're going to expect them. Quality, and once again, hopefully some players will be packed to their capacity. But if you look at players like Skari now, top scorer, 6 goals in the tournament. Other players, maybe you mention Sebapumere go to the tournament because Saviora Nai, he's got 6 goals, but he's normal. Mputkogo also 6 goals from Eswatini United, but he's normal. So then it goes like this, Skari is likely to be the top scorer of the tournament. But for me, so far, would I say a player that has impressed me in the tournament since we've started watching the tournament? I will go for Babane Swallows, Kingsley. Okay. He's doing well.
Skali, D40 facing their former team. That is motivation enough.
It's motivation enough, because even Barrel Pupuscons yesterday, it was the same thing. You would think that motivation. And these are the players, when the Ngonyama Cup tournament was launched, started, by winning 3 times in a row. So Skali knows the feeling. D40 knows the feeling. And Skari, I think, has played more finals than anyone, because he played the 3 finals with Babane Swallows. Yeah. Last edition, when he was the captain of Babane Highlanders, he played the final. He's going to play another final. So it's so much motivation. It tells you, or it gives you that confidence when you're playing your former employees and you've won the same tournament with them. Then you want to break a record, being the first player to win the tournament with 2 different teams.
Before you even get to the finals, there are league games. The Swallow remember they'll be involved.
Involved, yes.
Now Tabanga labang 2 ngabe le qinto tabo sethi kule final yini noma they still need to focus on the league?
At some point, actually, I was would you now say Leopard and Buffaloes, they stand a chance in the league because now they don't have Ngonyama Cup. Now their focus is the league. Then you have got Green Mamba and Swallows, but they have got both the Ngonyama Cup and the league. But I don't think, how it is, I don't think both of them are going to win both of them. One of them will take the league and the other one will take maybe the Ngonyama Cup. They're going to manage to get a chance because now the local league is taking a break because Sihlang is getting to camp today. They have got a game against Somalia on the 20th. So, because they will use this remaining 10 to 15 days and get friendlies. So we might see them maybe visiting your Mozambique to get friendlies. But then how do you get friendlies with the majority of your players in the national team? Then it's also another question mark. But for Leopard, I think now, so Buffaloes, it will be a chance as well. So they will try. They will try to channel it, yeah. But I think for Buffaloes, they want to go to Africa, they will need the league. Leopard, they need the league. Green Mamba, they want to defend both the league and the Ngonyama Cup. Swallows, they want to return to Africa. It's quite exciting. It is exciting.
Yeah. Very, very interesting indeed. Siyabongela ke lawo maqembu la aphumelele bonke Simba bane Solos ne Green Mamba. Sibatholana ke kumanqamu ayo inzebe iNgonyama Cup. Kanti ke mangesini bekunemidlalo omkhulu ke nakhona iqembu leLiverpool libambele etulo neManchester City nga 1-1. I want to talk about the respect lengiyibonile kulabaqeqeshi labangu2. Jurgen Klopp na Pep. They were meeting for the last time go English football.
Yeah. So much respect, Magwawana, because even himself, Pep Yasho would say, I've never had so much competition in my career. And I think he was referring to the time he was with Barcelona. He did have Mourinho in Madrid, Barcelona, but not that much. But Kurumera was between 2018 to 2014, the past 6 years, the competition that he's faced against Pep, I mean, against Klopp, it's quite immense. And now look at yesterday's game. I have so much respect for Liverpool, Magwawana. Now look at the starting lineup. Beswe Tibuta would say, had he had all the players, had Salah been fit to start the game, had the likes of Trent Alexander, all those players, but bringing the so-called young boys and be able to put us performance where we went to bed even thinking that maybe they were supposed to be given a penalty, but there was so much controversy about that. Then it tells you what Klopp can bring to the club. You look at the youngsters, the likes of Jones, they look at the team is just too much. But there's also so much opportunities on the side of Liverpool they missed. Bo Luis and David Luiz. I think if he managed to, convert those goals, we could be talking about a different story. So, but the title is open because Liverpool still stand a chance. Next game, Arsenal goes to Manchester City. Who knows? If it's a draw again and Liverpool win their game, they could be back on the top of the log. But at the moment, the situation is like this. Arsenal is leading the race, but the race is far from over, 10 games away. Yeah. And that's 30 points.
And Arsenal is winning.
Arsenal is winning. And I think, I was actually, looking at the records. I think it's the first time since, Manchester United has never done it, to win all the games since the new year. Since that trip to Dubai. When they came from Dubai,
they are winning.
Beating all
Declan Rice, Kai Havertz on the score sheet. And Nangabanga connected 3 points against City.
Against City.
I'm wondering who's going to stop this Arsenal team.
I think it's the lack of consistency. I think my worry is, Magobane, is that we've seen Liverpool. Okay, that's another game that is a fight for the top 4. Tottenham winning 4 goals. What a game it was. Manchester United beating Everton. Magobane, I think we've seen Liverpool doing it at this point of the season, going all the way and take the league. We've seen Manchester City doing it 3 times in a row, going all the way and do it. But Arsenal has never done it. Last season, where they were at today, they went on to lose 12 points out of 30. Yeah. City only lost 4 points out of 30. So then it tells you that lack of concentration is the only thing that can disturb Arsenal. Yes, their key players are back, Abo Partey and Jesus. But from now to the end of the season, the focus. And then remember, there's the league, there's the Champions League. Tuesday they play. Then Saturday you play City. Then there's that also lack of concentration. Say they give all the attention to the Porto game because they need to win the game, Porto game, or they are out. But anything is possible at this point in time.
There's also the Nations League, because the league will take a break.
Yeah, at some point,
Players will be traveling to play in their respective national
Yeah.
teams. Some will come back with injuries.
Injuries, yeah.
I think the coaches are worried at this point.
The coaches are worried, but I will say this, Magwaban. Liverpool have a chance to take 4 trophies. City has a chance of winning the league and the Champions League. And Arsenal. I mean, I don't know if Arsenal supporters will like, but I think Arsenal's got biggest chance to win the Champions League than the league.
But
yes, but I'm worried about consistency because now look at the run of games remaining. Because for City, after the game against Arsenal, one of their biggest, they are done with big games. Arsenal still have Tottenham.
Yeah.
Arsenal still have Manchester United. Arsenal still have Aston Villa, the number 4. Arsenal still have Manchester City. Arsenal still have Brighton, Everton. These are teams, they are mid-table teams. These are teams.
I'm saying, this game ingaba a problem for Arsenal.
Yes.
It's Manchester City. Arsenal.
This is the Premier League. Anything is possible. I know. Cool. But it's not the same like last season. They have matured.
Yeah.
But if the situation,
and they're highly motivated.
They're highly motivated.
I watched them against Bradford.
Yes.
I could tell it was let game about they win.
And that's I think that's the goal we considered. Then for me, it answered every question why Ramsey is on the bench instead of Raya. It shows why he's on the bench. Raya will not make that silly mistake. So then it shows the maturity. And those are the things he corrected from last season, because last season, those are the goals that Arsenal used to concede, and you ask yourself, what's wrong defensively? So anyone has a chance, but that game against Manchester City will define a lot about the season. And remember, there's something that has been reported. This year we might have 5 teams from England going to the Champions League, because now the Champions League want to increase the numbers to 36 teams. So if now we have a team from England once again lifting the trophy, then either Aston Villa, Tottenham, or Manchester United, one of them can be the 5th to go to the Champions League.
Yeah, kuba ke imidlalo ye-English Premiership lamhla ebusuku iqembu le-Chelsea litayemukela iqembu le-Newcastle Stamford Bridge. Yes, Newcastle Fabrice, there was so much hullabaloo na babeka umqeqeshi wabo Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe, yes.
Yeah, and the money that was pumped in the club, but the returns angathi it's just the end.
It's too late, Nyalo, because when they started last season, mid-season, they appointed him mid-season. Bafika go Carling Cup final, they were beaten by Manchester United last season. So starting with this season, there was so much expectation. About that, and I think it's one of the teams with high salaries, but they haven't been able to live up to the expectations. I don't think Eddie Howe will be fired. He's got the backing of the management, but I think they will be busy in the transfer window. They will be busy. For Chelsea, I don't think also Posh will be fired, but there might be players that will be released in the transfer window. So next season, maybe these two teams might be different. I'm not saying they will come and win the league, but what they are doing this season, they will improve next season. So this game tonight, Chelsea at home, Stamford Bridge against Newcastle United, it's just all about, let's see who could be finishing within the top 10 at least, and in the top half of the table. So at home, Chelsea, maybe you can just give them that confidence, say 2-1 or 3-2, but both teams to score.
Right, kanti ke naseningizimu Afrika bonke sibekunemidlalo omkhulu leqembu le-Orlando Pirates emabhakajushu eshana ke ne-Kaizer Chiefs. Basi kunana sign lena bathi yi-Chiefs le. But ngivele former striker se-Pirates Phumuzo Manenje athi this sign means Pirates came from behind twice.
Slang. What a player, man. Saleng, yeah, what a player. But
rules are selling out at your own peril.
No, but I think for me, okay, he was but give me what a goal.
Yeah, no.
That's for me. I think I've watched more than 6 to 7 derbies in the last how many years, but I think that was a goal.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about.
And I don't remember when was the last time
Derby
ibana goals 5?
I was telling people that Magwabana the derby is the influence of the AFCON from watching.
Yeah.
I was watching also. Was the Sundowns or Morocco? And Bugabo Mukwena, the performance now, the players are different. I think majority of this confidence, we're getting it from having been watched by the entire Africa. So when they came to the game on Saturday, both teams, they knew that the stage is high. President Cyril Ramaphosa was in the attendance, even though there were question mark, why was he handed over a jersey?
It was a home game for
Pirates.
Pirates.
A home game, but
you might also be a Pirates supporter.
So we should put that in consideration. Hugo Bruce was in attendance, obviously, as a coach, national team coach, but what a game. The quality of the goals, even from the Chiefs side, in terms of the goals, there's so much quality. Now, Naskulmanget Derby, 1-1, but the 3-2 was a true reflection of where now the current South African football was. And I think if it's anyone from the North Africa was able to watch that game, he was able to say, no, South Africa, they are someone. If this is the biggest game in the land, one of the biggest game on the continent, actually, if it's not the second game on the continent after Zamalek and Al Ahly, then one of the biggest game in the world, then the football in South Africa is getting somewhere.
And Chiefs, because
they had a chance to.
They had a chance at some point.
At some point when it was 2-1, I think when it was 2-1, you ask yourself, missed chances, then there's lack of concentration. Gubo Martin, the midfield, they can't really hold on, and this is 2-1. But now Bogaskats, maybe 55 to 65. You can't defend that much. Close to 35 minutes. But by that game, and they had so much luck in their hands. But for you to come from behind at some point and go all the way to win 3-2, it means a lot. It means that there's hard work in that team. But credit to some of the key players like Botabis, we mentioned them, Saleng, and these are the players who would say they stand out for me in that performance against Chiefs.
I think the future of Jose Riverio is secured. And the future of Calvin Johnson is hanging in the balance.
It's question mark. I mean, he came in as an interim manager, so you can't really confirm. There were issue of maybe they are trying. I don't know. It's just the Chiefs. Okay, we were watching marriages. I think the story ran on Eswatini TV a couple of weeks. We were watching marriages. Bosimpiwe Shabalala, I think Bo Chimita. But we were watching marriages to say, let's make noise. Good Sigulan for now, director River. Santos from Brazil.
Okay.
It's a club from Brazil, Santos. There is a director of sports. There have been noise that he could be the coach next season. So Bafuna would at least go to convince Chiefs to change how they play. But let's see how it's gonna be, because one thing that happened, like in South Africa, 5 coaches within 3 years, the team. Kevin Johnson has been there. Bowman Tropa have been there. You look at how they surround all of them.
Gavin Hunt.
Then you ask yourself, then what's the if it's not working for this one? Where he is, it's not working. Why Mbuisera? So, but at least I think this point in time, they will go outside. But they will try Pirates mentality and get someone from far. I think the guy from Brazil, Santos, he's the director of sports. There have been talks that they want him, and I think when he comes, there's going to be some reshuffle.
But the problem you're coaching in, Noma, they don't have the right players in key positions.
It's a bit of both. There's shortage of players in same position, and there's also an issue of trying to rush for results. Because now Bugi Pirates, in as much as Agakwenda Gumaniga that ABSA Premiership, but the so-called knockout tournament, but now you're emptying 8 he's given them.
Yeah,
so there's that passion of saying, if he given us a trophy, let's give him 2 to 3 years. At some point we get there, and we're competing every year in CAF Champions League. So then it says somehow 70% he's meeting the targets. But then you come to Chiefs. There was an example of saying that a kid who's studying grade 1 now doesn't know Chiefs winning a trophy. I think you've heard the joke.
Yeah.
So then it tells you, whoever you appoint, yes, you can go to CAF Champions League, you can go to CAF Confederation, whoever you appoint, at least give us the knockout tournament, Econ Telecom, MTN, Netbank, Kiona. So anyone can come, at least just give them that trophy. Then they can start showing signs of saying, we're growing as a club. As long as no one is just giving them anything. Because Nangabe Skuluma Sundowns, it's the only team now leading when it comes to the ABSA
they played against Shipa.
Yes.
They are champions in waiting.
Yeah, so then you ask yourself, who are they going to compete against if you don't have teams who are coming with the same mentality? But let's see. Johnson, I think when the season ends, he might be brought once again into the development of the squad, because the agreement, part of the contract is that he's interim, but he still have that job of development coach of the club. So I don't think they will let him go. He might assist the incoming coach. He might be back to development, but they need someone in the transfer window.
Slang was in a campaign preparing for qualifiers, preliminary qualifiers, AFCON against Somalia. Is it a serious match?
No, not serious. Not serious. Just that it's a national team. We have to respect that. But on paper, I don't think we should be struggling. I mean, we're ranked 144. These guys are ranked 192. So we shouldn't be struggling.
But AFCON, would see the so-called small teams.
Yeah, they can change.
Madagascar, would see.
Yeah, they have improved. Yeah. No, I think last time when we played them, we beat the same AFCON. This Africa Coast. The preliminary stage basically in Somalia. Sabashaya 2-1, Bekaya Samba Saya Somalia, because now they don't have a facility that is up to standard, so they play their games in Morocco.
Okay.
So this game will be played in Morocco, so the victory was 3-0. So I'm confident once again. So we had the same coach at that point. Dominic Gunene was our head coach. So going to this game, I don't think much will be changed in terms of the lineup. So let's hope. I think if anything goes by, we should have Figueiredo in this game. He's traveling, he's coming with the team. I've been also asking themselves, now we've got 4 players internationally. Now sina Figueiredo, sina Mkolis, Botswana, sina Nzaba, another young man who used to play for Mbabane Highlanders. He plays for Police 11 in Botswana. But there were question marks to say Agabonagar in terms of him playing. I'm like, he plays. It's just that you guys don't see him trend on social media. He plays Nzaba for Police 11 in Botswana. And then we've got Lindo Mkonda in Zambia. So those are the 4 players now we have. We might say, yes, Botswana, Zambia, South Africa, but we need them. We need them. They need to come in at some face and some blood. Yeah.
The man is Fabrice Wanjanakaya Msonera, former Rwandan under-20 international. He played under-20 in Kuzarane Sekafa. Ngosi asifumba kolomsala wethu insuku iminiyeni ayibengilehle nalemnanzi sibonana ke kusasa ngalosibili. Nisale kahle kwalomuhle.